My husband suddenly had a business trip, so we had to cancel our family vacation. Seeing my daughter so upset, I decided on a whim to take her to an amusement park. After having some fun, we were in line for the Ferris wheel when she suddenly said, "Look, it's Dad." I was shocked to see where she was pointing. There was Kevin with a woman I didn't recognize, holding hands and talking. Blinded by anger, I approached them and said, "Looks like a fun business trip." As my husband turned around, "My name is Yvonne Olson. I'm a 34-year-old stay-at-home mom, though I'll be 35 next month. You might say I'm entering my mid-40s. I wonder when birthdays stopped being exciting. I'm growing tired of these monotonous days. That's how I've been feeling lately." My husband Kevin is also turning 35 this year. We met at a food company 7 years ago and got married 5 years back. Our daughter Laura, who was on the way at that time, is now 5. Time has flown since Laura was born, probably because my days revolve around chores and childcare. I wanted to keep working, but I quit my job when we married, thinking it would be hard to juggle it with raising Laura. Kevin seemed to agree. I believe he wanted me to quit not for Laura, but to support his career. After all, he's never involved in housework or childcare. He didn't help when I had severe morning sickness, never fed Laura or changed her diapers. He's never once picked her up from preschool. Given this, I now believe quitting was the right choice. So I juggled housework and childcare on my own. One evening, after putting Laura to bed as usual, Kevin came home from work. "Welcome home. I'll reheat the dinner for you." When I called out to him, my husband responded coldly without even "I'm home." "What's for dinner tonight?" "Tonight it's grilled fish and some sashimi." As I answered, my husband frowned. "Ik, fish? Not in the mood for that. Anything else?" "Well, I've got some leftover meatloaf from yesterday in the freezer." "No, I can't do meatloaf 2 nights in a row." "Well, what do you want then?" I asked, visibly irritated. My husband, also annoyed, said, "Forget it, I'll have instant noodles." "What? Instant noodles? If you're going to eat that, why not eat what I made?" He raised his voice. I came home exhausted. "Stop nagging." "Who's the one nagging here?" Just as I shouted that, the living room door opened. "Mom, I'm thirsty." "Oh, Laura, I'm sorry. Did we wake you?" Behind the living room wall was the bedroom. In our small apartment, our voices probably woke her up. I apologized to my daughter, got her some water, and went to the bedroom to tuck her in. After a while, when I returned to the living room, I found an empty noodle cup and disposable chopsticks on the table. My husband was nowhere to be seen. He'd probably gone to the bathroom. I sighed and threw away the remnants. It's not like food magically appears like in a restaurant. Even in restaurants, you can't order, say, Indian curry in an American diner and expect it to be served. Are all husbands like this? And I wonder how wives all overthink up dinner menus. Someone please tell me. I wiped the table down with these thoughts. Even so, I understand how demanding my husband's job is, having experienced it myself. Back in my working days, I would often get irritated due to the excessive workload. If someone like me, who has experienced it, can't sympathize with him, who else could? Probably no one. Coming to that realization, I decided to avoid quarreling over such trivial matters. And to give him a break from work, I thought of planning a vacation. "Can you get time off for Memorial Day weekend?" "Yeah, as of now." "That's good. How about a vacation for a change of pace?" "A vacation. Sounds good." He seemed quite receptive to the vacation idea. And when my daughter heard about it, She was more thrilled than I had anticipated. Yay! Where are we going? Ever since I brought up the vacation, it's been the main topic of discussion every day. I busily prepared for the trip, making hotel reservations and researching attractions, hoping to ensure it's enjoyable for both my husband and daughter. Because I left the preparations a bit late, most of the hotels were fully booked. However, after much searching, I found a place. 2 days before our departure, I showed them the hotel on my smartphone. I've booked us here. Wow, that room looks huge. It was last minute, so only the suite was available. Well, it's a nice treat once in a while, isn't it? Dad, it's going to be fun, right? Yeah, I guess so. However, my husband didn't seem as upbeat. It'd be terrible if he fell ill right before the trip. With that in mind, I suggested, it's getting late. Let's go to bed, and took my daughter to the bedroom. We were eagerly looking forward to our trip in 2 days, but it seemed my husband didn't share the same excitement. I realized this on the eve of our departure. He said, I've got an unexpected business trip for the next 3 days. I can't go on the vacation. I'm sorry. Hey, what's going on? A business trip during the holiday? There was an error in product delivery, so I have to deal with it immediately. Are you kidding me? Can't someone else handle it? It's with my client. It's my responsibility. But is work more important than our family trip? It's my job. There's nothing I can do. You talked to Laura yesterday. She was looking forward to it so much. Enough. If I can't do it, I can't. That's that. Kevin snapped back and then disappeared into their bedroom. I was deeply disappointed. Above all, I didn't know how to explain to my daughter, who was sound asleep, looking forward to the trip. When I think about my daughter's feelings, my heart feels constricted. The next day, I called to cancel our hotel reservation and explain the situation to Laura after my husband had left for his trip. I'm so sorry, honey. Daddy got work, and we can't go on our trip. Really? Laura responded, tears forming in her eyes, before she lowered her head in sadness. She must have been devastated. Eventually, she burst into tears. I'm sorry. How about just the two of us go out somewhere else? Trying to comfort her, I suggested this to change the mood. Laura, with her tear-streaked face, eagerly replied, amusement park. Let's go to the amusement park. That sounds like a wonderful idea. There was an amusement park not too far from their house, a place where both kids and adults could have fun. It would surely make Laura happy. I agreed and quickly got ready to head to the amusement park. This is so much fun. Laura was thoroughly enjoying herself and had completely cheered up. As the sun started to set, Laura was exhausted from all the fun. I'm pooped? I bet. Should we head home soon? Wait, I want to go on that one last thing. The Ferris wheel. Sounds good, let's do it. Then I took my daughter's hand and we got in line. The Ferris wheel was beautifully lit up against the backdrop of the twilight. It's so lovely. As I was admiring it, my daughter tugged on my hand. What is it? Look, it's Dad. I looked in the direction she was pointing, and a few yards ahead in the line was a couple holding hands. You must be mistaken. Saying that, I looked back at the Ferris wheel. Just then, the line moved and the couple looped back to face us. And there, to my astonishment, was unmistakably my husband. It really is Dad. My daughter exclaimed, but my husband didn't seem to notice us. He was deeply engrossed in conversation with the woman. Was his business trip a lie? Did he choose to spend these 3 days vacationing with this woman over our family? Had everything been decided 2 days before our planned trip? Maybe he wasn't feeling down that day. Perhaps he was just detached. responding absent-mindedly because he never intended to go on the family trip. Desperately, I tried to process the situation. As these thoughts consumed me, the line kept moving, and for better or worse, we ended up right next to them. He was turned away, chatting happily with the woman. I couldn't resist and said, "Business trips sure look fun these days." He turned around, eyes and mouth wide open in shock. "Dad," my daughter called out, causing the woman to quickly pull her hand away, realizing the situation. Finally, he spoke. "No, it's not what you think. We're here for Ferris wheel maintenance." That was the first excuse he could come up with after being caught red-handed. Why does the sales team even do inspections, especially at a food manufacturer? And they even queued up properly. LOL. I couldn't help but laugh at the sheer absurdity of it all. "Come on, Laura, let's go." At that point, I didn't care about my husband anymore and was about to leave the scene. But then my daughter Laura asked, "Aren't you playing with Dad? He seems to care about that woman more than he cares about us." I replied so, and Laura frowned. "I never said that." Kevin tried to interject, but it was too late. "Dad's the worst. He never plays with me. I hate you." With that, Laura stormed off. "Wait." Kevin was too stunned to respond to Laura's words. I glanced at him and the woman next to him, both in shock, and chased after Laura. Laura's face was red with anger, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm sorry we couldn't get on the Ferris wheel. How about we get some popcorn from that stand on our way home?" When I tried to console her, Laura responded, "I hate Dad. I don't want the Ferris wheel, the popcorn, or even Dad." "Really?" "Yes, because Mom, you got sad because of Dad." "When you're sad, Mom, I get sad too." "Laura." At that moment, hearing my daughter's words, I decided to divorce Kevin. I couldn't forgive him for making our young daughter feel this way. On the way home, I stopped by my parents' house nearby and explained the situation. After leaving Laura with them, I went back home alone and searched for Kevin's room. I found records of messages between Kevin and the other woman on his computer. The messages revealed a long and intimate relationship between them. As I stared blankly at the screen, all my feelings for Kevin disappeared. All the while, his messages and calls kept coming in, but I blocked and ignored all of them. Later that night, Kevin returned home. Maybe he felt remorse, or perhaps he just realized his secret was out. Either way, it was clear he'd taken his time, possibly dining with the other woman while thinking up excuses. I couldn't tell if he was genuinely sorry. Well, about earlier. As soon as Kevin noticed me, he tried to explain, but I wasn't in the mood to hear any excuses. I interrupted him and started reading out the messages between him and the other woman, straight from the computer screen. "I'm looking forward to the trip starting tomorrow. Spending time with you means more to me than with my family." "Stop it!" Kevin, in a panic, snatched the laptop from me and shouted, "What are you snooping on? That's creepy." His words pushed me over the edge. "Excuse me, sneaking around with a young woman is way creepier. Why even come home to pick a fight with me when you're clearly in the wrong? Spend all this time coming up with excuses with your side chick, didn't you? Have you no remorse at all?" As I berated him, Kevin hung his head and said, "I'm sorry. I don't need your apologies now. I want a divorce." "No, anything but that. I'll apologize. I'll do anything." "Do anything? What can you possibly do? Think you can make up for it? Ridiculous." With that, I grabbed my things and left the house. Later, I formally divorced Kevin. I demanded $35,000 from both Kevin and his mistress. Turns out, The mistress was a junior colleague at Kevin's company. She was furious about the lawsuit and broke up with Kevin. She even resigned after confronting their boss about demoting Kevin. This revealed their affair at work, and Kevin faced demotion and a pay cut. Kevin, who couldn't even iron his shirts, became sloppy with his appearance. Without me to set an alarm, he couldn't wake up on time and became chronically late. He's now just dead weight at his job. I'm just surprised he hasn't been fired yet, I snorted when I heard this from his parents. His parents were equally appalled and vowed not to support him anymore, almost cutting ties. On the other hand, I moved in with my parents, taking my daughter with me. I started a full-time job. I was full of gratitude for my caring parents and my resilient daughter, even though we had less time together. Mom, welcome home. One day, as I returned from work, Laura greeted me with joy. I'm home, Laura. I noticed she looked a bit fidgety, holding something behind her. Mom, what is it, Laura? What's going on? Happy birthday. This is a present from me. Oh my. I had completely forgotten that today was my birthday in the midst of my work. In her tiny hands, she held a rolled-up sheet of drying paper. When I opened it, tears filled my eyes. It's a portrait of you, Mom. It's cute, right? Laura, thank you, thank you. I hugged her tightly, overwhelmed with emotion. Getting older might not be so bad. In fact, each year might bring more weight and meaning. And I'm sure that feeling comes from having Laura right here in my arms. I hugged her again, smiling warmly.